Okay, welcome everybody. My name is David Cordova. I am the founder of a platform for chess tournaments called Tornelo.com. We are a web control center that can manage over the board, online or hybrid chess tournaments and provide arbiters unprecedented control over their events compared to any other platform that's online. We built Tornelo back in 2008 through 2012, and it was called Tornelo because we've combined the process of running a tournament. So we combined the words from the word tournament and the word ELO, which was obviously the rating system. And as we've combined the functionality of all of those into a single platform, we've got the word Tornelo comes from tournament and ELO. So yeah, the system is fundamentally a pairings program to start off with. We are a 100% online web-based cloud application. So all of your registrations for events go directly into the pairings program. It's all in the cloud. You can access it from any browser, any device, anywhere in the world. So the Tornelo system will manage the registrations, the pairings, the results, and ratings for players as well. So you can even set up a school rating system or a club rating system of your own if you need to. In March of 2020, when COVID came along and we've had to move all of the chess tournaments in the world online, Tornelo added an online game server to the pairings program. And so now that means you can run your tournament as you would expect in a normal over-the-board tournament, but also allow the players to play games online. And of course, in the future, this will give flexibility to even play hybrid tournaments. The platform is built for organizers and arbiters, so it's different from most of the other online platforms that exist, which are built for players to be able to play games. This is a system that is built for organizers and arbiters to run tournaments. And there is some fundamental differences between being able to play a game and being able to run a tournament. So that's what Tornelo does. There are three different types of kind of role that we're going to talk about today and show you Tornelo from a few different perspectives. The first is players, the second is arbiters, and then of course from the organizer's perspective as well. So let's just jump straight into it and show you a few things about how players can interact with Tornelo. So Tornelo has two views over every tournament. Okay, the first is what we call a tournament lobby. And the tournament lobby is the player's side view of a tournament. It's a live page, and so what we try to do is give the user an as easy experience as possible, and particularly when you're talking about children, the less navigation that they have to do, the fewer different places they have to be, the easier it is for everybody. So the players will always do everything from this one single page from the tournament lobby. Whether that's registering for the tournament, it'll be on the same page. If that's finding the Zoom meeting to join the Zoom meeting, there's a Zoom meeting button here, it's on the same page. If it's playing a game, it's on the same page. If it's viewing results or ratings afterwards, same page. So no matter what the players are doing, they're always coming to the same URL, to the same web page, and then they can do everything that they need to do from that one spot. The other side of things is the pairings program. And so while the players get to see the tournament lobby, the arbiters and organizers also get to see behind the scenes in what we call a pairings program. And this gives you the ability to start and finish games and so forth. Tornelo does collect registrations for players, so players can enter directly into Tornelo, and organizers can collect money through credit card payments, and those credit card payments go directly into your bank account as so we're setting up through your Stripe account or shortly your PayPal account, and the money goes into your account. So you can collect registrations directly online, which makes life really easy, and you can also collect payments online. Once the players have registered, let's go back to the tournament lobby, and I'll show you the perspective from a player's point of view. The first step in any tournament, of course, is to know who's actually physically present and ready to play, not just who's actually registered for the tournament. So when players first arrive at the tournament lobby page, they'll see a not so happy face, and it's very straightforward for them to say, okay, well, I need to click that box and make a smiley face. And what that does is that gives verification, that gives evidence to you as the organizer that the players are signed in. They're signed in with the right email address that's set up to control the player. They know where this box is, and they can actually interact with the system in some way. Right. Now, as an organizer and arbiter, you get to see, you can see there's this list of green check marks in the tournament lobby page. You get to see that, as does everybody else. And you will have full transparency over who's come along, who's checked that box, and you can see, all right, now all our players are ready to play. You'll also see these connection status as well. So one of the things that we try to do is make sure that organizers know at all times where all your players are. Okay, just like you would like to know in an over-the-board tournament, why is there somebody missing from board 3? You'll know that in Tornelo as well. So you can see these green or grey connection status icons. Green means that the player is connected. It'll go yellow if they're inactive, and then of course there'll be grey if they're not connected. It even gives you a little timestamp as well, which will show you how long has it been since the player was connected and active in the tournament lobby. Okay, so that's the first step for players, is they have to kind of check in. And so that once they've checked in, then you know that everything's ready to go. So going back to the pairings program, once the players are checked in, you can see everybody's marked themselves as present. As the arbiter, you've got control. So if you wanted to leave some people out of the pairings, you could uncheck their names, or you could withdraw that player. So Obi-Wan Kenobi here is withdrawn from the tournament, and that puts a line through their name. So you could skip a player for just one round, or you could withdraw them from the tournament altogether. So we now can do some pairings. You can do pairings in Tornelo either as, here's our pairings engine, either as a round robin tournament, which is obviously all play all, using Javafo, which is the same pairings engine that's inside Swiss Manager. And so that does individual Swiss tournaments. Or you can use Tornelo's own internal engine, which will give you an approximation of a Swiss tournament, and it gives you access to our Tornelo's version of kind of individual teams tournament pairings as well. Okay, so we can do some pairings now. It will ask you at the start of the tournament, what do you want to do with the players who are not marked as present? So you can see we just have Darth Maul that's not present. Everybody else is marked as present. So we can, let's just skip that player for the first round only. Okay, so we'll do the pairings for the first round. We're on a practice version, a staging version of the site at the moment, so you'll see some version errors. So you can see here we have now the pairings for the first round. Okay, the players will also see in their tournament lobby an option, who they're playing against, and then the ability, a button will show up here when we're ready to say start. Okay, so we can start with the draft set of pairings, where we can see that the pairings are just on their way. We can progress to a published set of pairings, which means that the players can now see the pairings, but they can't actually start the games. And then finally, we can start the games, and now the pairings go live, and you'll now see that there's an opponent and a play now button for Yaya Binks, who is our player that we're looking at here. Okay, as an arbiter, you can switch and view things from any player's perspective. All right, so the players, they have to wait until the arbiter says what's happening. The arbiter can then, of course, add extra players to the tournament. They can redo pairings. So we can see you just added a pairing there. We could give a different opponent to players, and it will update all of this information. So as you're editing the pairings, it's updating automatically here. So now we've got Yaya Binks is black against Obi-Wan Kenobi, and so it just shows up automatically here. When the players click play now, that will put them into a game. And in a game, you do need to have both players connected before you can start your game. And so this is just kind of a courtesy for opponents that if you have both players connected, then you'll be able to start. And if you don't have both players connected, then you'll just have to wait. Of course, arbiters have got full control over all of these settings. So if arbiters, if you wanted your players to be able to start the game before their opponent was here, then you'd be able to do that, and they would have a start clock option, and they could kick the game off when they were ready. So when both players connect, okay, so let's now just connect Obi-Wan Kenobi. You'll see the green status indicator here, green and green, which shows you that the players are connected and the game can begin when they're ready to go. In the pairings program, you will also see everything that you need to see by reloading the page and dragging the information from the tournament lobby into the pairings program. All right, and you'll see in a live situation, all of these red icons here show you who's connected and who's disconnected from the game. So you'll have eventually all the green lights there, which gives you a nice warm inner glow, knowing that everybody's actually sat down connected to the games. And of course, you can go and watch games. You can see what's happening in any of the games as well. So the game functions just the same way as any normal online platform game would. You click a piece, you drag it, you click a piece and move it to a particular square, and the game can play. You'll notice that in this game, we have got a chess 960 position. So we've got all the pieces shuffled across the back row. This is a chess 960 position here. And so you're able to set up any sorts of positions that you like. Now, I guess the big difference for players is while they're playing the game, obviously you can do all the normal things about offering draws or resigning from games, but you can also have this button here to call the arbiter. Now, when you call the arbiter, both players can chat. Okay. So white sends a message, black can say, I need help. And then the arbiter can come along and the arbiter can get involved with the game as well. Okay, so the arbiter could get involved with the game and help the players out while they're playing their games if there's something that the arbiters need to intervene with. Okay. All right, let's just put this on pause for a second. Okay, so once the arbiter has resolved the game and resolved the questions, they can move on and continue with other games. You'll see down here, this is the pairings for the first round. If a game is finished, let's just resign this game. The results will automatically be updated into the tournament lobby, and the arbiters will get to see these games. We go back in the tournament lobby, the results are automatically through, and you'll also get to see these results in the pairings program once you reload the page and drag all the information from the lobby into the pairings program. Arbiters always have control, so you can change results. If you weren't happy with the result, you can add results manually. You can observe games that are in progress. As an arbiter, you've got full control over everything that's happening during your tournament. Okay, so that's pretty straightforward for players. They'll go to the tournament lobby, they'll wait for the next round, and then when the arbiter does the pairings for round number 2, okay, we can do a draft set of pairings, we can check them, we can update what we need to update, we can publish them when we're ready, and now the players can see the round 2 pairings, and when we're completely sure that they should start playing their games, you can kick it off, and then the players will have an opponent and a play now button, so they can join in and start their games for the next round. So yeah, that's how the players' side of things work. Let me show you the tournament setup for the arbiters' side of things, so you can see all of the different features that you have. I'm just going to delete this round as well, so you can see all the different features that arbiters get to control. So when you're creating a tournament, All tournaments are owned by an organization, and so you can see this branding here. So you'll get color and a logo, so that gives you the ability as the tournament organizer to actually build a bit of a brand, get some kind of presence in the market, collect new players and registrations and entries, and player phone numbers and email addresses, so that you can build your own organization and get more and more people playing in your chess tournaments in the future. Okay, so that's the organization. Obviously, we've got some metadata about start and finish times. The ability to play games online is set by default, but you could also just play the games as an over-the-board tournament and not enable the online games. For schools and for scholastic players and youth, it's very important to have some sort of privacy controls. And Tornelo has really very sophisticated controls over privacy. So we've got 3 different levels of privacy for the tournament itself. And that just kind of tells you, can people find the tournament? Can Google find the tournament? How is it found? So a public tournament, everybody can find it, including Google. Community tournaments can be found by people within the Tornelo platform. So you have to create an email address or you have to create an account with your email address and sign in order to access it. And then a private tournament cannot be accessed by anybody who doesn't have the direct link. So essentially the link is the password. And you can just distribute that to the individual players that you're permitting to play in the tournament, and they're the only people who can actually register. We saw before the Open Zoom Room button. That simply links to this Zoom meeting ID here, and you can use Zoom, Google Meets, Hangouts, Jitsi, Teams, whatever GoToMeeting, whatever video conferencing system you're using. You just stick the link in here, and then that will link the tournament via this green button to the tournament link. You've got the ability to add secondary information, so we could have a second button, which would be a bookshop, for example. Okay, and say buy now. Now, if we save that information, when you go to the tournament lobby, you'll now see 2 buttons, a Zoom and a buy now button. So as the tournament organizer, you can add other information if you feel like it's necessary. You can control a lot about the game itself. Obviously, you can have standard chess or take me chess. Standard chess also, can function as chess 960, because that's just the standard chess rules, obviously with a change to some of the castling rules. So you can just insert any start position here, and you'll be able to play from that position. So it can be a thematic opening, it can be an endgame position, it can just be, king and 2 rooks against king, and you're trying to get the kids to practice that. So being able to add a starting position is incredibly useful. That start position, when you create all the games, when you do the pairing for the round, that creates the games, and all those games are created with these game rules. Okay, of course, if you want to change it for the next round, simply go and change your start position, add a different one, and then do the pairings, and it'll create it with those ones. You can use clocks or not use clocks as you see fit, and obviously you can set the amount of time for your clocks. These are in seconds, so that's 10 minutes plus 3 seconds move. Our rules about clocks allow you to, allow players to start the clock before their opponent's ready to play. So the opponent hasn't connected yet. Can they start the clock, yes or no? So that's an important question. I generally feel that players shouldn't be starting the clocks. They should not be starting the clocks before the opponent is there at the board. But of course, you might be under time pressure and you can't afford to wait that 5 minutes for the player to actually connect and get into their game. So it's completely up to you about that. When you call the arbiter, what happens when you call the arbiter? Well, obviously, do you want the clock to stop, or you want the person's time to be counting down? A player themselves can't do much about that. They can call the arbiter if they need them, but an arbiter has got lots of controls. The arbiter can declare the game a draw. They can update time on one or both sides of the clock. So it's absolutely full control for the arbiter, even down to taking moves back and adding time or removing time from players' clocks. we've got some other game information here about the game. So how many moves before you're allowed to offer a draw. So we use the FIDE's defaults of 1 there. Can you do a triple repetition? And if you do, should the platform automatically declare that? So you can say, no, actually, we don't want to declare the automatic 3-fold repetition. We want the players to be able to choose it. Or we want to set a repetition limit of 5 times. So like the FIDE rules, they actually say that an arbiter can't intervene and declare a 3-fold repetition. They have to wait till it gets to 5-time repetition. So this is when the arbiters are allowed to intervene from a FIDE tournament. And the same thing applies to the 50-move rule, that is without capturing a piece or moving a pawn. The limit for FIDE is actually 75 moves, but it's 50 if you're not actually running it through FIDE in the online space. So okay, so you can choose a 3-fold repetition, a 50-move draw. So you can set all of those settings. That's completely controllable. For scholastic events, you might not want to have a 50-move rule. You might not want a 3-fold repetition. You may want the players to come and talk to the arbiter and get their problem solved by a real person. You can have multiple divisions. So here we've got 2 different divisions, but you can have as many as you wanted. That's fine. You can use some teams, and then this is all about payments. Whether you want to have no payments or whether you want to actually collect some money, that's completely up to you. You're able to do either collect money or not collect money. The tournament will still run smoothly. So yeah, the arbiter's controls are quite varied. You can do all sorts of settings. We're just about to introduce a new feature in January where you can play like a no rules chess as well. So you can set up like a fox and hound or any other game that you want using chess pieces on the screen, but the players will be able to move any piece from anywhere to anywhere. So the system won't enforce the rules. It'll be up to the players to enforce the rules for themselves. So if they wanted to do, 2 bishops on the same color, or if they want to, whatever they want to do, they can do, because there's a no rules variation. But yeah, you can involve yourself as an organizer and make whatever rules you want. Okay, so as an organization, that's the final step. We just click on this logo here, and that'll take us through the organization page. The organization is the entity or the brand or the logo that owns the tournament itself. So running a tournament, collecting entry fees, where do you want those fees to go into whose bank account? Those are kind of organization settings. So the organization settings, you can delegate this to any number of people. So you can see we've got a lot of people who are organizers or who have been set up as administrators on this organization. And all of those people can create their own tournaments. They can link those tournaments up with your PayPal or Stripe account so that you get the money from those tournaments. It goes into your account. But yeah, you've got the ability to delegate responsibility, delegate authority to people. This page kind of gives you a bit of brand presence with the contact details as well. And then you've got the ability to advertise future events, things that are coming up. So here we've got some events in progress, some recent results, and then these ones are kind of unfinished games. They're still literally in progress. So yeah, you can feel free to play around with this, create some tournaments, see if you can get some registrations into the tournaments. So from an organizer's perspective, to see this information here, and to be able to do what is quite a popular feature, which is to import the CSV file. So importing a CSV file is like an Excel file, which will give you set up all of your player names and email accounts and all that sort of stuff. You can add USCF ID or ACF Australian or English, European or South African. There's a bunch of different IDs that you can add. And if you need your federation to be added there, just let us know, and we can update the import process to have other federations represented as well. So yeah, that's go back from there. That's the ability for organisers to, to kind of share that responsibility of running a tournament or tournaments with other people. Okay, so in this tournament, 46 players. Obviously, no problems for one person to run that tournament on their own. You would usually have between 40 and 80 people, players that is, but for each arbiter. Okay. So that would be the normal sort of range of play for what we suggest. All right, so organizations, you create your account, add other people to the roles, you get some information that you can distribute as well. The one thing about organizations that you'll need to know is when you're going to import a list of player names, you won't be able to do an import if you're not what we call a verified organization. And the reason for that is that when you import, you can link players with their FIDE profiles. So you can link them up when they get to their player profile page. They'll see some information about who they've played against and where. You get some basic stats about the game. Here's a graph over time. But then you actually get a link to every single tournament this person's ever played in. And they can click on that tournament from 2011 and see, oh, how did we go? What happened in that tournament there? This is an inter-school competition. You can see all these are actually teams. Okay, so organisers get to see all the details. You get to modify things that you're in control of, and post results up online. So the three players, you've got players who can jump in and play the games. You've got arbiters who can run the tournaments. They don't necessarily own the tournaments. Those are the organisers. We've seen a little bit about how the organisers can work as well. We do have fair play reports built into Tornelo, so you can click the fair play report, and this will show you all of the games that were played online and what their the engine analysis has to say about those games in terms of, are they playing fairly, or is a player perhaps getting some assistance? My view is always that it should be an early intervention process. It's about behaviour change. It's not about trying to catch people who are cheating. So fair play is a big part of what we do, and we talk to arbiters and train them about that. If you need any help organising a tournament on Tornelo, feel free to reach out. You'll have my email address, david@tornelo.com.au, and you can just send us an email, and we'll be very happy to help you through the first setup phase and the first round of your first tournament, or until you feel comfortable to be able to go and do this independently and do it on your own. So thanks very much, everybody. I hope that's given you just a kind of a very, very brief insight into some of the things that Tornelo can do. So we've got here PGN of all of the moves. So you've got all these useful features, but we just don't have enough time to go into all of them today. The main thing is to see how would you use this platform in a school environment, and critically important is the ability to be able to edit pairings on the fly, where you're here and you think all these 8 kids are going to show up, and then somebody else shows up, and then somebody else disappears. You're like, oh, where did that person go? So having the connection status of all of the players in the tournament so that you know where everybody is at any one time, and also at the same time having shuffled up where all the players are. Okay. Feel free to reach out and let me know if you need any more assistance. We're always here to help. Thanks very much, everyone. See you later.